Welcome to the With Ingram podcast. I'm Philip Ingram. This is episode 16, and today I'm talking to two legends, Freaky Clown and Dr. Jessica Barker from Sygenta. Warning, you will actually learn something. So today is absolutely fantastic. I've got two fantastic guests on. I've got FC, and I'll let him explain where FC comes from, and Dr. Jess Barker as well, who are self-isolating together. But again, I'll let them explain what that is. Both of you, fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for coming on, chatting with Ingram this morning. Can you tell those who are listening a little bit about who you both are?
Sure. So we are a married couple who run a cybersecurity company called Sygenta, which we set up a few years ago. And Sygenta looks at cybersecurity from the human, the technical, and the physical dimensions. So my background in security is in the human side. I've been working in the industry for 9 or so years and always been working on awareness, behavior, and culture. So that is what I bring to security. That's what I bring to Sygenta. And FC and I set up Sygenta a few years ago to try and look at security in this more well-rounded way and bring together our different backgrounds.
Yeah, so my name's FC. FC is actually my real name, but it also can stand for my hacker alias, which is Freaky Clown. I bring the technical hacking side to Sygenta as well as the physical side. So the physically breaking into places in order to make them more secure. So when Jess and I started it, there didn't seem to be a company that was focusing on all three of these, because we feel that if you are lacking in one of those areas, you don't have total security. And so having a company that fits all three of those areas obviously makes sense.
No, that's perfect. I always turn around and say that the primary digital problem that there is out there is that digit pushing something that it either shouldn't do or it hasn't checked before it's pushed it. And something starts in the physical world. That's it. That's physical world, or ends up, or will always end up with an effect in the physical world. So it's good to see that you're combining the human in there. Why do you think it is that a lot of the cyber companies, the tech companies that are out there, forget about the human in the loop?
I think cybersecurity has a very sort of technical history so far. So a lot of people working in the industry come from a technical background. And I also think there's an element where technology feels easier for some people. So if you're, a board member, or if you're a CEO, or if you're a CISO, sometimes it feels easier to think, oh, we'll just buy some technology, plug it in, and that will solve all our problems, rather than understanding that actually, of course, all of this is about people. People build technology, people design technology, they test it, they use it, they abuse it, they delete, destroy, at every level where we are engaging with technology. Of course, people are fundamental, and by its nature, so is the physical world. You can't really separate them out.
So we hear the two pillars of security. People talk about physical security. People talk about cybersecurity. I'm an advocate of there should just be one word. Do you believe that we should just talk about security and try and get some form of common understanding?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it depends. Some of our clients call it different things. We find that the term cybersecurity resonates the most, but when we're talking about that, we are talking about it in its broadest sense, so including physical, human, and digital. Obviously, the technical element plays a huge part. The fact that we've had all this technological change, the fact that we've had this huge fast-paced technological change. So technology is a fundamental part of it, but as I said before, you can't really separate them out. So I think looking at them in the broadest possible sense is the way forward.
Now, we're all sort of working from home at the moment, and self-isolating for you two is brilliant because you're actually getting a chance to get together instead of being in separate aluminium tubes going to different parts of the world. What's been keeping you occupied, work-wise and outside work as well?
Well, I think we've been really lucky in the fact that a lot of our work, because it's so holistic, I know everyone hates that word, but it is so we always have pen tests going on. We always have sort of Zoom meetings and digital versions of events going on. So yeah, whilst we've kind of seen a downturn on physically traveling places, the work has still been quite consistent, I think, for us. So I think it's actually maybe more work. It feels like
It seems like it. It's different. I think normally, particularly this time of year, May is normally extremely busy in terms of travel and delivering face-to-face stuff for clients, going to conferences, stuff like that. So normally we would be traveling an awful lot at the minute. And there's just been a shift to delivering a fair chunk of that would have been physical and face-to-face. We've been delivering online, like obviously lots of other people have been doing. FC has been working on a couple of really big pen tests for clients. We've been looking at some of our services that we normally do deliver face-to-face and thinking about how we can sort of reshape those to still deliver as much value as possible for clients, but obviously virtually. And I've been leading on the awareness project connected to the CV19 volunteers group. So me and a couple of members of the team have been producing awareness campaigns and materials for the volunteer group that is supporting healthcare with cybersecurity. Yep. And then outside of work, we've been cooking a lot.
I've been seeing some of your outputs on social media. They look very, very good indeed.
Yeah, I mean, if this cybersecurity stuff will get solved soon, then we'll start a takeout business or something. But, yeah, we've been cooking and baking a lot. Sorting out stuff in the house.
So it's your fault that we can't get any bread flour up here.
We have a lot of bread flour.
We do. We're well stocked with the bread flour. And I've become a keen gardener.
Well, I think at the end of this, the gardens of the United Kingdom are going to be in the best state they have ever been, and the cooking skills for the majority of the population are going to be better than they've ever been anywhere else. So there are positives that are coming out of it.
Yeah, I think, with every situation, no matter how bad it is, that there's sometimes positives. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that. We recognize we're really privileged. We get to work from home. We can work from home safely. Running our own business, we can determine the shape of that and the direction it takes. We have a home and a garden. So, we have our health, and our families have their health as well. So we're grateful for that every day, and recognizing that we need to be as positive as we can and try and make the most of this.
Yeah, and I think it's also important that all of our team can work remotely as well. It's like we haven't had to furlough anyone, and we haven't had to reduce work or hours or pay or anything. Everyone's still just as busy as we were before this started. Really.
Yeah, and it's good, and it shows the flexibility in businesses to be able to do that. And I think this is whatever comes whenever we start to come out of this pandemic, the normal that we get to is going to be different to the normal that there was beforehand. And one of the things that's in there is whatever the new technology landscape's going to be. What is it that you think it might turn out to be, and where do you see the strengths in that? And where do you see the potential weaknesses and vulnerabilities?
I think we're going to see quite a big change technologically wise. I think we're going to see a lot more remote working, which is what everyone kind of wants to do anyway, apart from a lot of the big companies have never really understood that. I think we're going to see, there are going to be issues with security around some of that remote working, but most of those problems have been solved. You just have to kind of understand what they are and mitigate against them. They're no different to what we've had for people that have been doing remote working for years anyway. It's just the scale of it. And I've said this before, vulnerabilities don't really change. They haven't changed in the last 25 years. It's just the scale of those vulnerabilities, how they can be attacked and how they can be used, that is going to change. And I think we're going to see that after this is all finished, really.
But I think also we have to recognize, I think you're right that there will be a lot more people remote working, but there's some businesses that can't function like that. So there will be some that, manufacturing, people can't work from home. So there will be some that will be getting back to some kind of state of normal from what we had before. I'm sure there'll be some changes. And there's some people, a lot of people love remote working, but some people don't. So there's going to be challenges for organizations, as there always is, in adjusting to what the new normal is, what's right for the organization, what's right for people's health, what's right for people's mental well-being. It's quite complicated.
Yeah, no, I quite enjoy it, but I work from home most of the time anyway. But I do miss that getting out every now and again just to meet people for that bit of human interaction, all the rest of it. But what we've got now, I think, is with people working from home, is businesses' digital exposure is much greater because we're putting things through home routers that we wouldn't necessarily put through home routers. They're behind a home locked front door. They're not behind what you'd have as your corporate security arrangements that are in there and all the rest of it. We've got the kids, for those that have kids, running around and trying to do their work potentially on mummy or daddy's work laptop because it's the spare laptop that's in the house, and we're getting that crossover. Education is an important part of preparing people for whatever the new landscape's going to be. Do you think there's enough being done to try and educate our children and going through as to what their digital exposure is, what the digital threats are out there, and allow them to help properly set up a secure digital new environment, whatever that's going to be?
I think it's complicated, as you've said. There's a lot of changes to the landscape of how we're all working, and this is on a technical basis, also culturally, for organizations, for families. And you're right that we're seeing, obviously, children and schools doing remote schooling. I think we do often find with the younger generation, because we do a lot of outreach, we do a lot with schools and universities, and we do find that they have been educated in cybersecurity from quite a young age.
Okay.
They generally, when we go and run sessions with schools, we usually find that the kids know more than the teachers.
Yeah.
Not all.
Hang on, wasn't that ever the way? Yeah, we always used to think we did when I was at school. I can't, if I can remember all those many years ago.
I mean, that's it. For our generation, we're kind of playing catch up. Whereas for the younger generation, this is what they've known. They've grown up with it. So I think there is a difference in that. Of course, I think there's more that can be done. And with the shift in how we're all operating, I think that's more important than ever.
But do you not think that as a society, and maybe this is the parents' fault rather than anything else, people understand what to do physically behind closed doors, with the curtains closed, with the front door locked, and all the rest of it. But even young people don't seem to realise the potential dangers that there are out there by doing a lot of the things that they are in the digital environment, where they are exposed. They don't do those curtains, they don't do that front door, and they're potentially leaving themselves vulnerable. And there's a danger that with more activity happening from home here, that vulnerability is potentially being exploited, or am I barking up the wrong tree?
I think you're doing a disservice to a lot of young people. They really do understand a lot more about this cybersecurity stuff than we give them credit for. As Jess was saying, like when we go out and talk with kids, they're the ones that have 3 or 4 different Facebook accounts, because one's for their family, one's for their friends, one's for their sort of potential job employee. They've really got a lot of this down. Like, they don't quite get the subtleties of it, but we're experts in this field, so no one sort of really touches that. So it's our job to enhance what they already know, to help them be more secure. But I think the kids are way smarter than a lot of adults, and especially some adults that are in security.
Yes, some of the comments that I've seen coming out from people who are security professionals raise an eyebrow or two, to say, to put it mildly, at times.
Professional just means you get paid for the job that it is. Doesn't mean you're good at it.
Yeah, do what I say, not what I do. Is the
But also, with cybersecurity, as much as it obviously is related to physical security, there's a fundamental difference in that physical security, you can see it, you can feel it. Cybersecurity is about a threat that is sort of invisible often until it happens. And even when it happens, even if you get hacked or you have an incident, sometimes you don't know straight away, sometimes you don't know for a long time. So it is different, I think, in terms of conceiving and understanding of the threat. And that's for every generation.
So how do we improve that understanding? Because at the moment, the way the threat is put across is from a scaremongering tactic. If you don't do this, you don't have two-factor authentication, you use the same password, your bank account is going to be emptied once all this personal data is stolen. Then all of a sudden you see a report saying all this personal data has been stolen. Oh, all hell's breaking loose, and you go and look at your bank account and go, it's still there.
Yeah.
And if you're unlucky for it to be emptied, then, and it's not your fault, the bank will go, oh, that was really not your fault. Here, have all your money back. So how do we get the message across in a more positive way, rather than just scaremongering?
So for us, our approach is to demystify security as much as possible. So we find that a lot of communications will focus on the what to do, giving people rules and guidelines without really focusing on the why. And explaining and showing people why it's important is one of the fundamental parts of our approach. And the other part is empowerment. Rather than trying to go so heavy on the threat, it's important to actually really empower people with what they can do to better protect themselves, and the fact that they are capable and able to do it, and helping them to do that. So I gave a keynote at RSA in February, just before lockdown. Feels like about, I don't know, 6 years ago. I don't know,
Yeah, exactly.
6 weeks, 6 months. I don't know when it was, but that was all about the psychology.
What month are we in now?
Who knows?
In fact, is it 2025 yet?
I think it's sort of March the 463rd. I don't know. I was talking at RSA about the psychology of fear in cybersecurity, and trying to help people understand that when you're talking about something scary, if you go heavy on the threat and you don't help people with the actions that they can take, and actually they just resort to controlling the emotion. And that will mean going into deniability, basically, and trying to avoid thinking about it. Whereas if you empower people with the actions to take and don't go so heavy on the threat, people are far more likely to engage in the real danger, the real issue that we're talking about, rather than just the emotional response.
So do you think at the moment we've seen an increased threat, a change in threat environment, no change whatsoever? And what should people be doing from a remotely empowering people perspective?
So we've certainly seen a change in the threat. So we know, for example, phishing emails, there's been a huge amount of focus on COVID-19 in one way or another, really trying to focus on the emotional aspects of that. With the attackers trying to scare people, trying to get them to feel sympathy, trying to, in one way or another, encourage them to click on links and transfer money. I know some of the press reports are saying that there hasn't been an increase in the threat necessarily, but that's not what we're hearing from some of our clients. Some of our clients are definitely seeing an increase in the threat. I think from an empowerment and a cultural and awareness point of view, it's important for organizations to be educating people, for people to understand that just because people aren't in the office anymore, that doesn't mean they shouldn't still be running their awareness campaigns and looking at their culture. And then there's lots of things, of course, that you can do from a technical point of view.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of the same sorts of attacks, but just on a greater landscape. Like you said earlier, it's like all of these people working from home have basically massively expanded the threat landscape for any company, because you've now got 100 more, 1,000 more, depending on how many employees you've got, endpoints that are suddenly connecting in. And if your network segregation isn't up to scratch, if your design of how you run your technical side of your company isn't up to scratch, it's going to scale badly. And it's just going to make it worse. However, if you've got it set up correctly, then it's just through one endpoint. So it really depends on the company and how they've set it up, that whether or not it's going to become more of an issue or not.
Now, we've seen on the threat landscape side of things, one of the things in the press recently saying that the research institutes that are looking at the vaccine for COVID-19 or for SARS-CoV-2, to name the virus, are being targeted by nation states and others. My brother's the CISO at Oxford University, and he's certainly preparing for a lot of potential activity that may or may not be happening as we speak. What are you seeing from that wider nation state perspective? And do you think that people should actually be generally aware that there are nation state actors out there, and if for some reason or other you come onto the radar, they could focus on you, and it's important not just to write it off as something that's James Bondish?
So interestingly, we saw a decline in nation state activity when COVID started coming out, because obviously a lot of the nation state actors couldn't go to where they needed to be to where stuff. It's very weirdly sort of come back now as more and more people are going back to work around the globe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting to watch the nation state activity around that, I think.
But in terms of what to do and what to be aware of, and what our clients are seeing on this side, and we always say this, nation state actors will start in the same way as anyone else. They're not going to be burning their 0 days straight away. They're going to start, and then they are with social engineering, with spear phishing emails. They're going to start in exactly the same way with the sort of low hanging fruit, and then if that doesn't work, that's when they'll be escalating and being more persistent with their methods. So the advice really is the same, regardless of which group it is to make sure people are aware of social engineering, make sure that you have the layered defenses that you can have, to be educating people. And then, of course, if you are aware that you are going to be if you're threatened by nation state activity, then you're going to be looking at advancing your levels of defense, because they are the threat group that will be more persistent and that will escalate their activity to match your defenses.
So of the groups that are out there that are carrying out most activities, are they nation states? Are they organized crime? Are they script kiddies? Are they opportunists that are trying to exploit things? What are you seeing as the majority, or is it just a bit of everything?
Yeah, so what we did a year or so ago was we collated a load of data, and we built what we call the Sygenta bell curve. It basically shows where you're likely to be hit by. And in the middle, you've got script kiddies and criminal gangs, because they're the most likely, because there's more of them, basically. If you're looking at nation state, it's massively diminished, but it never goes away. And they're really sort of the ones to be scared of, because they will, like as just said, they'll be persistent. They have the time, the money, and the energy to do so. Whereas you're more likely to get hit by script kiddies and criminal gangs than anything else. Just collateral damage normally.
Interestingly, though, I was speaking with a client the other day, and they said they've actually seen a decline in script kiddie activity, and they'd expected, and we talked about this when everyone was working from home and the schools were everyone was remote schooling. We sort of said, I wonder if there'll be an increase in script kiddie activity, and they've seen a decline. So it goes to show that actually some of this stuff is really hard to predict.
Yeah, well, the parents have nicked their laptops because they need them to work from home. And they keep asking the question, what's this app for? Don't touch it, mummy. But get back into then kids and schools and all the rest of it. I know, Sygenta, you've been doing some work with NCSC on the Cyber Hub for schools and all the rest of it. Can you just explain to us a little bit about that and where that fits? Because NCSC seems to be being really quite proactive in a lot of what it is putting out there to the general public. And I quite like a lot of the things that they're publishing.
Yeah, agreed. I think the NCSC are doing a brilliant job of getting guidance out in all sorts of different areas, big business, small business, board members, the public, and they do an amazing job, I think, in terms of outreach with young people, all sorts of different initiatives. We have been working for the last couple of years with the Cyber Schools Hub initiative that has now become part of Cyber First. And this is an initiative that was piloted in Gloucestershire, which is where we're based. And essentially it's about schools, industry and the NCSC working in partnership to go into schools and help people and help the young people understand what jobs are out there, what a career in cybersecurity and in tech more generally looks like. Run workshops, run events, help the kids kind of get hands-on with some different tech, and basically help them see that this is such a diverse career with all sorts of different things you can do, and get them basically aware of it and hopefully feeling encouraged and wanting to engage with it in the future.
Yeah, and it's not just about it, in educating the kids, it's also about the teachers as well. A lot of the teachers are like, oh my God, this is a career. Like, you can do stuff like that. That's like incredible.
You can hack into things and break into things legally. Oh,
yeah, and it's interesting because there's generally always like one kid in 1 year somewhere that they all know is doing something, and to be able to take that one kid and sort of steer them into the correct direction, is incredibly fulfilling for us. And not only do we do it through the NCSC's Cyber First hub, we also do it with Teen Tech.
Yeah.
We do it with
all sorts of things. We were getting involved with the Scottish Cyber.
Yes. Scottish Cyber
lectures before Christmas. So there's all sorts of things happening, around the country, I think around the world, in terms of encouraging young people to be more aware of cybersecurity, both in terms of their own personal security, but also in terms of a career.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely love getting involved. Teen Tech, another amazing initiative run by Maggie Philbin, which encourages young people to get involved in tech projects, and they have quite a strong emphasis on cybersecurity, so we get involved there as well. And it's incredibly rewarding for us, and our team love being involved in it as well, to get out there and talk about our careers and get young people hands-on with some cybersecurity stuff and see how much they are excited and engaged by it.
It's really great that all of our team volunteers to do stuff like this, to go out and chat to the kids. And it's, like I said, it's incredibly rewarding for us. In fact, we actually won some awards.
We did, yeah.
We won a couple
of awards from the NCSC for it.
So we're now officially an NCSC partner in Cyber First scheme. So we're delighted about this.
Yeah.
Well, and you're both prolific on social media, and there's an awful lot of very good blogs and stuff on your Sygenta website giving people updates and things. How do people find your blogs, and how do people find both of you so they can follow you and keep up to date with what you're doing?
Yeah, so we love sharing information about our work, advice and guidance. So there's guidance on working from home securely on our blog. There is an activity of a book of activities for kids, but we're also finding adults love it, colouring it, and cipher challenges and stuff. That's on our blog. So all sorts of stuff. And you can get to the blog via sygenta.co.uk. And then we're both pretty active on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
I am at Dr. Jessica Barker on Twitter.
Mine's slightly more confusing. Mine is @_freakyclown_.
Yeah, it has to be there to try and stop people from stealing it. A final bit before we end this. Knowing everything that you know, what keeps the both of you awake at night?
Everything I know, I've learned. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the big stuff either. Just, you can't be too scared of the world. There's a lot of stuff going on that no one really knows about, and it's probably best kept that way because you'll sleep easier. But just don't care about it. Just get on with your life. It's bigger things to worry about than what's going on.
Yeah, I think for me, I always say to people, you do what you can to mitigate the threat in whatever area of life we're talking about. You do what you can, and then you get on and you enjoy life. I always worry when people are not empowered, when people are told they're the weakest link, when the threat is overblown to such an extent that we make people panic and then we make them disengage. That's the kind of thing that troubles me. But it doesn't keep me awake at night. I just do what I can, and yeah.
Well, I think on a chill and enjoy life comment, that is a fantastic place to end. It's been a fantastic time talking to both of you. Thank you very much indeed for giving up some of your time this morning to talk to me.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.